What fundamentally is citizenship? And what is the definition of a citizen? This is a topic in the opening chapter of Book 3 of Aristotle's Politics. And Aristotle tells us that what separates citizens from all others is their participation in the passing of judgment, for example, sitting on a jury, or their eligibility to hold public office. But other details of citizenship, he says, will vary from polis to polis, from constitution to constitution. So Aristotle sets out in Book 3 to discuss the various kinds of constitutions that there might be. First, though, he takes a further look at the citizen's obligation to the state through the lens of an old metaphysical problem that he's translated into a political problem. What constitutes the identity of the state over time, when a state can undergo demographic change, regime change, constitutional change? How and why is it the same state? And how and why do the individuals that lived in it at one point owe decades to a state that is superficially quite different at another point? After this, Aristotle asks the question, is a good citizen the same as a good human being? And he gives the answer almost, but with one important exception. For Aristotle, the good human being is always ruled by reason and guides all of their actions by their own reason. But a good citizen, Aristotle says, must sometimes, in obedience to the orders of those who are currently in charge, must put his own reason in abeyance and accept the orders of the state. Now, what kind of states are there? Aristotle has a taxonomy where states can be ruled by one person, a small group of persons, or many persons. Envision two columns with 3 rows. Right? States ruled by one person can be good, healthy, intact, or they can be deviated. States ruled by a small group can be well run, or they can be deviated. You imagine the deviated column on the left and the well run column on the right. States run by many people could be well run or deviated. And what is the critical difference whether the state is ruled by one or a few or by many? In the correct constitutions, as he calls them, right, the rulers, one, a few, or many, rule with the good of the whole state and the whole people in mind. They rule to keep the state safe and improve the state. In the deviated constitutions, whether it's the rule of one, the rule of a few, or the rule of many, the rulers rule with their own advantage and profit in mind, and the state and the people become merely their tools and instruments. Okay? The well-run, single-person-ruled state is called the monarchy, and a deviated single-person state is called a tyranny. The well-run small group state is called an aristocracy, which literally means rule of the best. We might translate it as meritocracy now. The rule of the small group that is deviated, Aristotle calls an oligarchy. And what he has in mind is plutocracy, or the rule of the rich. Okay? Public office to the highest bidder. Finally, the rule of the many that is correct, Aristotle calls it a polity. This is when the many, again, are all ruling, or the majority of them, at least, rule with the welfare of the whole state and all the people in mind. On the other hand, if you have the rule of the many, and everybody is simply voting their own personal interests, what you have is what Aristotle calls a democracy, what you might call pure democracy, which, in this, Aristotle shares a prejudice with his mentor Plato, since there are fewer wise men than fools. A democracy always ends up devolving into idiocracy.